Hello, in this quick tutorial I'm going to show you how to create graphs using LT. LT offers a functional yet rudimentary way of creating graphs. Much like Excel or other graph creation programs, it uses a combination of a spreadsheet, which you can see on the left-hand side of the screen, and a graph plotting area, which you can see here on the right-hand side. You will need to enter your data into the spreadsheet and then select a few options in order to create your graph in the window on the right. Of course, you can do all of your analysis offline in programs like Microsoft Excel or GraphPad Prism or any other program in order to create averages and groups, and then transpose that data into the spreadsheet on LT, either by using the copy and paste command or by entering it manually. You will likely have created quite a large amount of data in your practical classes, which will need to be reduced or summarized in order to plot within your LT assignment. Just like any spreadsheet in Microsoft Excel or any other program, you'll need to produce headers and then enter the data you're interested in plotting. So I'm making up a fictitious experiment in my head, which is some data we collected over 5 different time points, and these time points, let's say, are in minutes. So I'm going to assign column A, in this case, to my time, and I'm going to assign column B to my data, which in this case is just going to be made up data in units called units. Once you've entered your header, you can enter your data. So for instance, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 minutes of data, and my data here are going to be just made up numbers that I'm typing in as I'm talking. We can assign row 1, time and data, as a header automatically within LT. To do this, we click on the row format button and we say that row 1 is a header. If you forget to do this, you can simply click on the first line of your data and insert a row above your data in order to then put in your headers. So I'm going to say row 1 as a header. And you'll see here that the color of these lines have changed slightly. There is a slightly thicker line underneath column, that row number 1, and you'll see that time and data is now in bold. And yet we haven't yet produced a graph. We've merely entered our data. So now, to go to our graph, we need to click on Edit Graph. By clicking on Edit Graph, you'll bring up a copy of your spreadsheet on the screen, and with the instructions that say drag to select data and titles. So we'll simply drag all of our data sets, and you'll see here the tick box down the right hand side says first columns has X values. That's because column number A here has our X value data. Because we have already told the software that row number 1 are the titles, it will take these two to be our X and Y titles respectively. We can also choose what kind of graph we want to plot and if we want to add a curve fit. So for the sake of this demonstration, I'm going to choose a line graph without a curve fit and press OK. You can see here it's automatically created an x-axis called time in seconds, a y-axis called data in units, and because I had pre-formatted this graph, it's also entered a title called changes in data over time. By clicking on the little pen icons to the right of each of these text annotations, you can edit your text. So for instance, I can highlight this and make it bold. And now my title is in bold. The y-axis and x-axis labels are automatically produced, so you cannot edit these. Neither can you edit the intervals in which these data are shown. However, you can change the type of graph that you wish to present. For instance, I may want to show this as a scatter graph with a linear regression. Therefore, I click on Edit Graph. I change my graph type to scatter, and then I ask for a linear curve fit. Upon pressing OK, you'll see that your data still appear on the same axes, but now we have a linear regression line plotted through our data. Conveniently, underneath the graph, we now have some fit data. It shows the y = mx plus c equation for this linear regression line, and then gives you an r² value. And you may find that these data are particularly useful when understanding your data, perhaps when discussing the meaning of your physiological data. So once you've created your graph, you may want to add another data set. So let's add one here. This is going to be data 2, also in units. And let's just make up very quickly some more data. So I've entered some more data in, and this is our second group. But you'll notice the data hasn't yet been plotted on the graph because when we set up this graph, we asked it to plot only the data from columns A and B. So let's go back to Edit Graph and highlight all of the data and do another scatter graph with a linear regression fit. Now you'll notice that a second data set has been entered onto the screen, and it has selected this in a different color. So now you've got the red data, which is our original data, and now some blue data, which has been added. Because of the space constraints of this window, you'll notice that the curve fit data is no longer shown underneath the graph. However, there is now a link to click on, which will bring up the curve fit equations for both of our data sets. At any time, you can change the format of this graph, and at any time, you can add and remove data. So for instance, I could change this now to be a bar graph with no linear fit. And there are our data presented next to each other. There are many other features you can play with within this window. By clicking on either of these two icons down the left-hand side of the spreadsheet, you can insert columns or remove columns. You can add rows or remove rows. If you're feeling adventurous, you could actually pre-format your graph by selecting the data set you think you'll be typing in, and as you type your data into the box, the graph will be drawn automatically. So that is how you create graphs within LT.